Um, you're currently a writer for Conan? Is
Yes,
Conan the Barbarian? I tend to
right.
pronounce everything based on the comic book version. So
It's
Conan,
it's pronounced Kubla Khan.
Kublai Khan. I'd probably remember that easier. I mean, that sounds like an awesome gig for a writer. Is this accurate, or is it?
It's fun. It's a crazy, as you would expect. The tone he sets is kind of crazy and weird and smart and silly all at the same time. So it's good. It's a lot of fun.
How does it? Well, I guess my personal first question is, how does somebody land a gig like that as a writer? I mean, do you come at it as a writer, or did you stumble in it as a comedian, or how did you get into that?
A few of my colleagues here, especially in the monologue department, are stand-ups, and some people, the stand-up community can, people network and stuff, and sometimes someone's really funny and their jokes are great, and that's how you would hear about it, an opening and get referred, and you'd have to write up a joke packet. In my case, I'm not really a stand-up. I came in, actually, this is my third TV writing job. I started out as an assistant on Dennis Miller's HBO show, Dennis Miller Live.
Oh yeah.
So that was like, I was sort of a, glorified secretary to the writers. I was a writer's assistant, and they would let us, they would let us kick in some jokes here and there. And I'd been sort of working on that for a while, just, for no pay, trying to master the topical joke form. And so when I got that job through my friend, I was really taking a shot at that. So I worked on that, and I got better at the jokes, and they started to use some, and Dennis started to notice. And then the final year of the show, one of the senior writers left, and they had an opening, and he noticed my contributions. And so I got my first job as a writer for the last year of that show. And then someone I knew I worked with there had been on The Onion with people at The Daily Show. And they also had a vacancy because someone was leaving for the new Jimmy Kimmel show at that time. So this guy I knew could not move to New York, so he asked if I was interested in applying for that, and so I applied for that. And then there's sort of an extensive application process, but eventually I got that job through writing samples, not through performing. And then I was there for about 6 years, and then one of the people I work with, Dennis Miller, is at Conan and had been with him at late night. And when they were announcing that he was going to come to the Tonight Show, when Conan was doing the Tonight Show, I was sort of itching to get back to LA and sort of change it up and do something a little bit different than the Daily Show sort of intensity, and just do something a little lighter and get some better weather. So so I started pestering the head writer and kept at that for a while. Didn't get too far, and ironically, the Writers Guild strike in 2007, 2008. All the late night writers in New York were kind of a small batch of people. We were all the same people picketing every day. There are not so many of us, so we got to know each other a little bit. And I met the head writer and got to know some of the guys, and so that was sort of like in lieu of an interview, I think. Usually you go through an interview process, but I think yelling slogans with a picket sign in the sleet and snow sort of it's probably just about as bad as any interview you've ever had, any job interview.
Yeah.
Just as unpleasant.
Shows dedication.
So I sort of knew them, and then I kept asking about, are you going to have any openings for the Tonight Show? And then I applied for one position here, and I didn't get it. And then a month before the show started, they told me there might be like one more possible opening, so I applied for that on the monologue team, and I got that, and I got it here just as the Conan Tonight Show started.
Wow, that's and does it does it pay better than normal writing gigs? Because most of the writing gigs I've gotten have been, starvation wages. Is it?
Do you mean like freelance kind of stuff?
Yeah, primarily I do freelance.
Journalism?
I sometimes do technical writing, and it's all horrible pay.
You,
Um,
it's decent. Like it's on cable, so it's not anything like those sort of astronomical sums that you hear about TV writers being paid. But it's a fine living, and it's year-round work, and it's steady, and they seem to be keeping us on the air. So I can't complain.
yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Is it? Can you sort of describe how, the only experience I and probably most people have with writers for a show is sort of 30 Rock. Is that kind of
Exactly
how
like that. It's
is
exactly
it
like,
really?
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. All right.
It's just
So,
people running around having their personal issues, like, commandeer the show, and there's not really ever any sketches or stuff going on, and it's, Conan is a uh, uh, highly competent professional who can't get his personal life together, with hipster glasses. No, it's it is. There's a little bit of that chaos, I would say, but it's a little bit more boring than that, certainly.
okay.
There's definitely like that
Well,
kind of on the fly feeling to it, because especially the way this show works, where it's kind of a crazy show. So like the whole MO is that you throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And so
okay.
on any given day, people are going to be just like putting together a sketch or shooting a crazy video, or like bringing in like a bunch of puppies dressed as Conan to do a number, or there's a bit of a circus atmosphere, and then all those things may happen, and you never know will actually make it into the show or not. So there's definitely some of that, but at the end of the day, we have to put on a show, so something has
Okay.
to get on tape.
It's one of those gigs that seems great. Do you see a downside to it?
Well, it's like it seems crazy to say it, but like sometimes any job is,
Yeah.
you're like, some days you're like feeling it, and like everything's just like running on all cylinders, and some days you're just like, whatever I do, it's just not working out. Like either like it's not coming to me, or it's just not working for other people. And you just like, but you know what? The good thing about like a show that comes on 4 nights a week is that if you have like the worst show in the world, then tomorrow night there's another one.
Right.
You get a shot at it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the sort of stuff that's just I find fascinating, because I've been a writer longer than I've been anything, but I think I was writing before I was born, but I've never really made a living at it. You sell a few things here and there, and it's always interesting to see that there are ways to make a decent living other than being Stephen King.
Well, it's getting harder. It is getting harder, like, because there's so much free writing on the web, and
yeah,
even the magazines are like only hiring freelancers more and more and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely like a hard scale. This is one of the few outposts, just because I think a show like this runs on volume. You have to create 10 times as much material just to get as much stuff, and also like Conan's very of the old school of, like, he wants to work with us face to face and coming up with the material and going over it with us and talking about it. So you have to have people in here in the building, like, as a full-time thing, day in, day out. But that's sort of rare. I mean, like, there's so many like people doing funny web videos and free journalism and stuff that it is like it's becoming like a vanishing thing. So this may be the last job I ever have.
well, that could be for anybody.
That's true. That is true.
There's nothing related to job security anymore in the world.
If an asteroid hits tomorrow, then it definitely everyone's last job.
I am so looking forward to that. I could just it would be a great rest. It would be. I mean, I used to be looking forward to the zombie apocalypse, but I've gotten so heavy now that it would be really short for me. I'd be the guy barely making the run, and then I'd get eaten, and it'd be over. But
But would you like to look forward to being a zombie yourself?
Well, the weight loss would be good. That would be good. But I don't know. I have enough trouble keeping myself together as a zombie. I don't think I just want to be able to shoot zombies in the head and feel cool about it, because you shoot real people in the head, there's so many repercussions, paperwork.
Are you saying zombies aren't? I hope you're not saying zombies aren't people. Because
well, in the eyes of the law, it's basically like living in the South. You get to kill somebody legally. I'm from Virginia, so we had the defense of they just needed killing, so you get away with that.
So things need killing.
Wanted to talk about is it a Kickstarter that you have for your because. You want to tell me a little bit about your project, and then I'll ask you some questions about, why Kickstarter versus Patreon or what have you, just to give us an idea of what it is you're working on.
Okay, so I am working with a new sort of it's a publisher / app, which wants to sort of be the Spotify of comic books. They've named Farrago, and they're a startup, and what they've done is they've made deals with a lot of great comic companies like IDW, and those are sort of like letting them license their libraries. And Farrago's model is they put the comic books online for free. It's all digital. They put it for free, and it's advertiser supported. So we'll see how that. And the idea is that they have a finite selection, and then the idea is that if people like them, then they go and they buy the comic books from one of the other sites. But this is just a different model for enjoying comic books. And so they're kind of new and hungry, and they approached me and said, we're interested in doing our own original stuff. The same like way Netflix, and Amazon are kind of getting into that game. We want to create our own content. So they saw that I've done some sort of goofy comic book inspired stuff online, which I can include the links if you want.
Yeah, I'll have all that stuff in show notes. So
so they noticed I had an interest in that. So they said, "Are you interested in creating one?" And I had this idea that I've been sort of kicking around for a long time, and I'd not had a lot of success interesting like the big comic book outfits because it wasn't really a superhero thing, and I've never done it before, so I'm kind of a noob. So basically, I had this idea about an alien invasion, but they're nanoscale aliens, so they're like micro scale, and they infiltrate the president of the United States' brain because they feed on radiations, and they're going to sort of puppeteer him into creating World War III and making the whole planet just full of radiation. And then, like, our heroes are this crusty old Cold War general and a bitter, brilliant neuroscientist, and they're sort of an unlikely team who gets shrunk and sent into the president's brain to fight the aliens. So it's sort of a fantastic voyage.
Yeah.
Story, but a lot of it takes place in the brain, which I'm just fascinated with.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a way to use that as a playground. And it's so it's kind of a crazy idea, and so you can sort of see why it was a big leap for some people.
Yes.
But Farrago was like, we want to take big swings, we want to do like crazy things that haven't been done before, and we want to work with you. So I pitched it to them, and they were into it. And so they said, what we need to do is figure out how to pay for the comic to get made. And they brought me this comic artist, John Lucas, who's like a serious guy from the legit comics world. He's done like Marvel and DC work. He's done Deadpool and X-Men and Star Trek, all kinds of stuff. And they actually showed me a lot of artists, and I wasn't really I didn't know if they would work or not. I thought maybe they could work, but I saw his work, and I just immediately saw the connection. Like, I could just see his work was right on my wavelength. And since I've been working with him since, it's been absolutely true. We're like totally crazy mental twins. But anyway, but he's a heavyweight from the comics world, so he comes at a price. So they said to fund this and for us to produce the comic book, we have to sort of turn to the kindness of strangers. So they and I together are launching or have launched this Kickstarter to put together a 4-issue limited series, and of course, if there's interest, we'll do more beyond that. But the idea is it's sort of a self-contained miniseries that it will be digital, but it'll have a limited print run as well.
Okay, and did you pick Kickstarter over, say, Indiegogo or Patreon or anything for any particular reason, or did it just seem to fit your needs better?
I don't know that much about the crowdfunding world, but they came to me and said, let's do a Kickstarter.
Okay.
That was what some of them had backgrounds in funding other ventures, that I guess they were more familiar with it or something.
Okay.
So I'm just following orders.
Okay, I'm just curious because I've used all three of them, and I've raised nearly dozens of dollars.
Yeah, it's someone described it as a full-time job.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's
really, you have
harsh.
to really look at it.
You get psyched up when you see, oh, so and so is has a Kickstarter for bottled air, and they're got their $1 million, and you come up with I think I have a cure for cancer, and it's sorry, you only got $9. So
that's true. It's like Kickstarter for like you don't want to see someone else succeed, that an inferior product.
And with Indiegogo, if you just want money, And you don't need any particular amount. You can ask for 10,000, and if you only get 7,000, it's like, well, I get 7,000. Whereas I think with Kickstarter, you've got to hit your goal. But some of them, there's one for a science fiction game that is like millions of dollars over what they originally requested. And as far as I know, they still haven't produced a game. It's been years. You guys, I mean, you've got the writer, you've got the artist, you've got the platform. So that looks sort of like a done deal. As long
we're raring to go as soon as we get the funds.
Well, those are the good ones. Those are the ones where when you can tell somebody is, they're really psyched to do it. Those are the ones that I think tend to get funded quicker because people can tell, oh, we're gonna get somewhere, because they're usually not as into the reward levels as they are to be part of something. And this looks like it'll be pretty cool, because I looked at the Kickstarter and watched your video, and first-rate special effects too. That's very good.
Oh, thanks.
So what else are you up to? Anything exciting, illegal, or possibly fattening?
Well, it's a good segue, because some of these things are actually rewards from the Kickstarter, as you may have seen. But I have some projects that I did fairly recently that I'm giving copies away as part of some of the reward levels.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Now I can talk about them and not sound like a complete shell.
That's quite all right. That's what I'm doing.
80% shell. So the interest in zombies from before was because I have this book called Apocalypse How.
Oh yes, that's right.
It's the only feel-good guide to the apocalypse, explaining why it's going to be the best thing ever for humanity. It's a humor book I wrote a couple of years ago. It's a tongue-in-cheek guidebook that it covers like the 9 most likely scenarios for apocalypse, and just like leads you through like clothing, fashion, food, eating, sports, all the things you need to know to make the most of your afterlife. And then also, more recently, I have this album called 2776 that I helped co-produce. I don't know if you can see these names in here, but it has a bunch of great talent on here.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Now's, Will Forte, Paul F. Tompkins, Nico Case, Ed Helms, just all kinds of amazing Kids in the Hall, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, 80 artists and musicians. And it's a charity album that helps this organization called One Kid, One World that builds schools and funds school books and teachers in poor parts of the world, in rural villages where they need it the most. But it's like because you're a science fiction guy, it's basically a 1,000-year romp through American history, past, present, and future, through the year 2776, hence the name. So it's like this time-traveling, satirical thing that just looks at like everything in American culture, what was. There's some riffs on history. There's some pop culture stuff, and then there's some there's at least 5 apocalyptic scenarios that unveil during some of the songs, and there's a storyline.
Well, that's pretty neat.
So really, it has everything on it.
Are they available outside of rewards, or are they currently just?
Oh yeah,
okay.
For sure.
Okay. Because I need to make sure I've got my fashion sense ready for any apocalypse, because that book looks pretty cool too. I'm gonna have to take a look at that.
I think Basic Black will look good if we have a nuclear winter, because you'll really the aesthetic.
Well, I've got some of that. It's they tell me it's slimming.
Yes, right. But you know what's good is if you're concerned about your figure, a nice hazmat suit.
That's true.
Very generous too.
I wish hazmat suits were or any large burqas would be muumuus. If those
burqas. Well, there if current trends in Syria and Iraq continue, that could be the next. If the caliphate takes over, as I've been calling for it to.
Well, and that would be if that's a benefit alone, I think I would go for that, because
right.
All this
that could really get Americans really on board with ISIS.
As long as the clothing is concealing, they'll be fine with it.
Right. They're not burqas, they're muumuus.
They're muumuus, exactly. It's just you got a variety of colors, black and pick something else. All right. Well, that's been extremely interesting. I've loved talking to you, and I'm very glad that you agreed to do this, because you're one of the first people I've been able to chat with who I haven't met in person. And my mom was really boring, but the Alzheimer's still funny. So that's.
You can ask her the same questions over and over.
I can until she gets it right. It's comedy gold. All right. Anything else you wanted to plug before we wrap this up?
Well, if you can include links when you post it online,
I will.
It's easiest. But
send me the links, and I include it in the show notes for the podcast and the description in YouTube, so people can get to this stuff.
Well, basically, I would say the easiest thing to do is if you can also follow what I'm up to by going to either robkutner.com, but the best source is my Twitter feed, which is @ApocalypseHal, spelled just like this, all one word.
What a coincidence!
I know, it's just, what were the odds? And that has all my information and everything there, and you can also get daily doses of material that was not good enough for Conan. That's my brand.
The not good enough for Conan. That's
Conan players, yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Is he? You can tell me. I've stopped recording. Is he a jerk?
Have you really stopped recording?
No.
Damn it. This is how you drew your mom into. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He's great. He's fantastic. I mean, like anyone who goes on camera for a living is a little bit crazy, but you have to be. But he's hilarious. He's really unhinged. Up behind the scenes with us, he just lets it all out and just he's a joke machine. Just no filters, but also just a genuine, just a nice guy. Like if you have something on the level you got to talk about, he'll always do the right thing and talk to you like a person and stuff. So he's great.
That's good. That's good. It's nice to know that people who you admire on TV are sometimes actually the people they seem to be, and that's good. If either you or he are out here in California, you can come on over and we can play Call of Duty sometime.
Great.
I don't expect.
Let's just go on Twitch. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I've got my own Twitch account with followers of, I think I've got 5 people who.
Right, and you don't know any of them though, right?
None. No. Well, actually, I think my son is probably one of them, but I don't think that counts. Meanwhile, I've got an interview lined up with a gamer who is on Twitch, and I believe on a slow day she has about 10,000 people watching her play.
Wow.
I don't understand it. But,
it's a crazy world.
It is. I wish that I were born probably 10, 15 years later than I was, because all this YouTube and Twitch and all this stuff, that's perfect for me. But I wasn't, so I think I'm the oldest gamer on YouTube, in fact, which is sad, because I'm not that old. But, I do my silly little videos, and then I watch some of these kids online going, "Oh, I feel so old, I'm 25." It's like, you're 25, are you? Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to nursing my bad back. So
back to the morgue for me.
Back to the morgue, exactly. My blood's 50% butter by now anyway, so... All right. Well, thank you very much, and send me those links, and I'll include them.
Great talking to you.